Boom, we should be good. So, hey guys, Charles Sparks here, Berkshire Hathaway in the northern Colorado area, and I've got Tommy here with Ram Inspections. Tommy, you want to give us a brief, quick introduction, you and your company, real quick?
Yeah, so like Charles said, my name's Tommy Martinez. I'm the owner and basically sole inspector for Ram Home Inspections. Started in 2017. Basically, we just do primarily residential. We do anything from rural to kind of your mansions to kind of whatever. We do radon testing. Just kind of, I still like to do everything a little old school, so I still get up on the roofs. Kind of get up in your attics, check everything top to bottom. Just kind of give everything a once over. But yeah, we've got our website. You can check out our pricing on there and kind of get a feel for kind of what we're about.
Love it. One of the things that you mentioned real quick before I get into everything else is that you said you still do the inspections yourself, which is really nice. Some of the bigger companies, of course, they have crews, which nothing against them, but that you have them come out and do your thing, and you kind of have to rely on. You don't kind of have that one-on-one relationship, which we have with you, where you are actually the one out there inspecting the property. So it's nice to actually get the results from you personally.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm not super tech savvy, and I just kind of like to do things old school still. I still keep a calendar and a notebook and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely, I feel like you kind of get a little more detail and a little more one-on-one and that kind of stuff when you kind of do things on your own. So yeah,
100%. So real quick question, I do have more towards wanted to ask some things for non-owner occupied properties, but give us a quick 30-second rundown on the inspection process and some of the stuff that you would cover on a general home inspection.
Yeah, so definitely. So what I always like to preface with people is that we are not code enforcement. Basically our training and all that kind of stuff, we base everything off of the current code, building code and all that kind of stuff. But we also basically we're hired to come in, look for any safety, health issues, that kind of stuff that may cost you guys money as a buyer or as a seller before you put your house on the market. But what I'd like to do is I start my process basically from the outside, where weather bearing and stuff, but I'll start it on the roof, check everything, get up there, climb on, check all your penetrations, just the condition of the overall roof. And then I like to go and check the outside. And that's kind of my big once over there. And then I'll move to the interior of the house and I kind of check all your major components, basically from your windows to your doors, to your outlets, your kitchen appliances, just basically, as much as I can do in the time frame that's kind of allotted. But a quick kind of check up and once over everything. I do take the cover off of your electrical panel, make sure there's no obvious issues or anything like that. And another thing I like to tell people is, we're kind of a jack of all trades. So I'm not going to be able to give you the precise fix for an issue or the cost for any of that. I can maybe give you an idea or a ballpark, but basically I'm just kind of there to point things out. And then I direct you to a professional, tell you what should be done and kind of if it's a safety thing or, like I said, health and hazard type of deal. But yeah, it's basically just a once over of all that kind of stuff. And then we usually like the buyer or seller to come the last hour of the inspection. We'll do kind of a rundown of all my findings and then kind of a walk through the house. I'll show you all your shutoffs, your major shutoffs, your water, your gas, all that kind of stuff. And then basically you get the report within a few hours of the inspection generally. And that's kind of our process.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, very good. And thank you for the work you've done. I know you've, of course, done a lot of inspections for us, and on every now and then, it doesn't happen often, but I know one last year for us, you did the inspection and we found out the water table was way too high. Water was coming up into the crawl space, and my buyers had to bail because of that, just because of that finding, which probably saved them in the long run thousands and thousands, if not, who knows how much. And it was covered up from the prior sellers. So definitely you do a good job of making sure you protect that buyer and as well. Tommy, let me ask you this, radon, that's a big topic here. Can you give a brief summary of radon, how you check it, and that aspect of the inspection?
Yeah, so basically, in short, radon, it's just a natural gas that's it's found, throughout the U.S., but it's given off from basically the soil beneath the house, and so it comes into the house through any cracks, just basically the pores of your concrete foundation. Um, it's kind of hit or miss. One neighbor could be high, one could be low, so there's really no rhyme or reason to it. The closer you get to the foothills and rockier areas like that, it does get a little bit higher. But I always tell people when it's a basement and you got some living space partially underground, then it's a good idea to test. Basically, what we can do is I'll set an electronic monitor, and it gives you an hourly reading. We do that for 48 hours, and then we take that overall average. And if it's before or above the threshold that the EPA sets, which is 4.0, then I recommend that you have a company come in and do mitigation. Usually there's some method or some form that they can do to get those levels down to a safe level that's livable, and everybody can kind of, breathe easy and be kind of at ease with that. So, just kind of depending on the method, cost wise and that kind of stuff will vary, but it's more health related. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of, well, at least I want to say it's code in Fort Collins now that any new building or residence has to have a passive system in. And for example, one of my homes that I was in, I want to say it was built in 2018, 17, 18. And we had a passive system and didn't think much of it. And then of course we had you come out and run a test for us, and it ended up coming high. So a brand new home had the passive system in it, and it came in high. So we had to get a radon fan, which it's not bad. It was, $390 to somewhere at $450 probably on the high side to get that taken care of. And I want to say our levels dropped within a day below where they needed to be. So some homes have passive, and I'm sure you see that a lot as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you mentioned. It's newer homes usually have the passive ones, and that's it kind of helps to cut down those levels a little bit. But like you said, obviously, there's a lot of cases where it's not enough, and so that fan needs to be installed and kind of activated to where it actively draws pressure from underneath the house and stuff. So. Yeah, it's pretty easy fix. They can usually get those systems installed within a day or two, and so yeah, it kind of takes care of itself there.
Yeah. Tommy, let's talk on pre-inspections real quick for a seller that is looking to put their home on the market. Do you do inspections for them as well to come out, inspect it, make sure there's not anything majorly wrong with it, and that way the seller can take care of those items prior to putting it on the market?
I do, and it's it's one of my suggestions. Just that I think it's a good idea because as a homeowner, I know that there's plenty of stuff probably wrong with my personal home that I just don't have the time or just the energy to kind of repair and stuff. But there's things that just natural wear and tear on a home. Not necessarily always a safety thing, but sometimes there's those safety things that crop up and we just don't know about. And so it's a good idea to get ahead of those. Especially as a seller, if you're looking to do a quick sell and you're moving into something else and you need things to move fast, then that helps you to kind of get ahead of things. So a deal isn't killed because of something that comes up on an inspection, and then you have to start the process all over again. I just think it's a good idea because it kind of speeds things up for you and gets you ahead of the game.
Yeah, 100%. I always like them because we also, of course, I have people in about every industry here that can take care of items. So whether it's plumbing, electrical, handyman type thing, we can always get it taken care of. If it's a radon issue, we can always get that fan installed and get everything mitigated and correct before putting it on the market. That way, I've also noticed it just builds buyer confidence as well when you have a clean inspection report or an inspection report showing with receipts showing all the repairs that's been done. It builds that much more confidence, and sometimes we can get to a little bit better price or to the closing table with a lot less stress for a seller having those things come up. So that's good to have. Tommy, for owners that would own a property here in Fort Collins or Loveland, Greeley, I think you work the whole entire northern Colorado area.
I do.
Long Mountain North or something. So for a property owner that, let's say they live out of state and they have renters in their home, but they want to make sure that they're providing a good, safe place for their renters, and making sure that their home is, kept up. And do you offer any type of, or do you do that to where you can come into a rental house, do a brief health and safety inspection and give a report to a landlord?
Yeah, I do. I think I've maybe only had one or two instances where I've done that. But basically, that's kind of another perk to kind of doing my own company and own business, is that I'm very flexible with a lot of things, where I can kind of adjust prices for certain situations if we need to, or if we need to kind of adjust the report. I've had people ask, they had a friend that came out and he was working for a roofing company, or somebody like that. And so they already had the roof taken care of. They've already done things. So I've done partial inspections before, and you kind of cut the price a little bit on that. And basically with the kind of, like you said, the moving in kind of health inspections. So yeah, it's kind of the neat thing about this. So you can just kind of look for whatever and look for the same things in major items.
Yeah. And when I think of, health and safety, I think of, plumbing, electrical, probably the roof, anything else that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to kind of look at your roof, and then there's like your structural. So you definitely want to take a look at like your attic, your roof structure, anything as far as you can see, as far as the basement, any movement in walls and stuff. So that's kind of your structural stuff. Definitely electrical, plumbing, heating and cooling. Those are big ones. And then just kind of a lot of stuff in the interior that, I guess, to me, in my opinion, the interior stuff just kind of adds up money wise. Most of the time, it's not usually a health and safety thing, but you do have a lot of modern codes that have been enforced for health and safety, where you'll notice in older homes, they didn't have handrails on stairways. Nowadays, those are required and stuff. So that's kind of a good thing to always look for and kind of point out. And then there's just some other kind of things on the interior there. But
Yeah. Awesome. Very good. And then I know that there's also like a few things that I've learned after working with you about, so even on some of the plumbing. I think it just came up on one of my inspections the other day with you, but it was a poly pipe for the main water line coming into the house that kind of you got to look out for as well.
yeah, and that's the thing. There's some stuff that's just with the plumbing like that, with the polybutylene piping. There's things that pop up that may not be an issue at this point, but they've become issues over time because of like material failure, or with certain brands of electrical panels. They've caused like fires and stuff like that. And the panel may be fine at the inspection and everything, but it's always a good thing to point that out and to just kind of have that knowledge of certain brands or certain materials that need to be pointed out, for the buyer, because everything could have been good for the last 70 years. And then all of a sudden the buyer gets the house, and then that's when everything just, by bad luck or something happens.
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And I mean, we have a lot of buyers that will purchase a home knowing, like my buyers still, of course, bought the home that needed that new main water line coming into it, because the home is still a great house. Everything worked, but at least now they know to keep an extra eye on that and keep it inspected, and making sure that, everything goes good. And then someday when they, save up and want to do that repair, they'll go ahead and do it. But it's not like it has to be done today, but now they know at least to be looking for it.
Exactly. And one thing I always like to, preface to buyers or sellers is just that most of the time, barring anything major, that things can always be repaired. And, it's hopefully kind of put a lot of buyers and sellers at ease, knowing that, it's not a big freak out thing, that just things need to just be handled accordingly and kind of the right path.
100%. Yeah, there's not that many issues, I don't think, that come up that can't be repaired. Or, I mean, pretty much anything can be repaired if it's built, for sure. But
Right.
I think we've maybe had 1, 2, maybe 3 deals fall through because of inspections, and those are, because of bigger issues. So, and a lot of times it's just because maybe the seller doesn't have the resources at the time to take care of those items, and the buyer doesn't want to take on responsibility of those, which is totally understandable. So what are kind of closing up here, what are some of the items a seller can do that you've seen on a, on a yearly kind of maintenance plan to keep their property in good condition, whether they're living there or if it's a, like I said, a landlord with a non-owner occupied property? What are some of the major things that they can be doing on a yearly basis?
A lot of things I would tell a seller, there's a lot of checklists you could probably find online kind of pertaining to that, but just do kind of the basics. I mean, obviously you want to get your furnace and AC serviced once a year. I always tell people that's like an oil change in your car. You can't expect your car to keep running good if you don't change your oil until every 10,000 miles. So, definitely do something with your furnace and AC, get those serviced. Another one thing that's a big safety thing that I find a lot of my inspections is lint buildup in your dryer vent line.
Yeah.
That's one thing that should be done on an annual basis, if not more. Just to kind of, that's a big safety thing to kind of prevent any issues down the road. But then just, every now and then, just change your filters in your air conditioners, in your furnace. Check your smoke detectors, and if they start beeping, change the batteries. Just open and close all your windows every once in a while. I know a lot of people don't use their windows because we, modern just have technology for like air conditioners and better cooling systems, stuff like that. But, a lot of non-use in your windows and stuff will cause them to kind of to wear out and, just not work as good. So, just basically, it's kind of being a good homeowner and really working your house, and just like anything, you got to keep moving stuff. And, it's kind of my biggest, I guess, suggestion is really just every once in a while when you think of it, just do it and kind of take care of things.
100%. What is, I guess one more question I just thought of, because I had a conversation today actually with a insurance agent about this, but how many homes have you inspected in the last few years that you find a lot of hail damage?
It's been a lot. We had a big hailstorm back in, I guess it was 17 or 18. And so the past year, a lot of those homes had been already repaired and stuff. When I first, like I said, I started this in 2017. So we were right either before that or right after the hailstorms. And just about every other roof I did had some hail damage, in this area, because that hailstorm spread from Loveland to Greeley to Fort Collins. Right now, the past few years, this summer was pretty decent. So we really didn't have anything too devastating as far as hail. Maybe just a few still, but that's pretty much left over from an old roof that just had previous hail damage.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the insurance companies are going to a year anniversary date. So if you get hail today, you got 1 year to basically make that claim. Otherwise, they're not going to cover it. And I've had a lot of sellers, well, not a lot, but probably 3 sellers this year that have almost missed that deadline just because they didn't think they needed to make a claim, or they didn't know about it. Some were out of town owners and had no idea of the storm. So I assume that's even something that a seller could call you up and pay you a price to come out and inspect their roof if they needed to. I mean, you can probably do that type of stuff as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I will tell you, a lot of roofing companies do come out for free. And like I said, I do know what to look for, but by all means, they are more the expert than I am. And so I also like people not to waste their money too much. And, if they can have a professional come out, then it's either that or your insurance company. But yeah, I would definitely tell as a seller, anytime there is a big storm or something like that, it's better to just kind of stay ahead of it instead of, missing out on an opportunity to have it taken care of a little more cost effectively.
100%. Awesome. Well, very good. Well, hey, Tommy, it was a good conversation. How should a seller contact you if they want to get their property inspected, or how can a buyer that is looking to get an inspection for a home they're purchasing, how can they contact you?
Yeah, definitely. Best way is probably by phone call, email, text. Those are kind of my biggest ways that I respond the best. I do have a website. It's just ramhomeinspection@gmail.com, or ramhomeinspection.com. And so, yeah, I've got all my contact on there. You can kind of send an email and all that kind of stuff too. But best way is just a one-on-one phone call.
Cool. I'll be sure to put your information too on the below when I post this video. And then, and just for boundary purposes, again, kind of, well, how far north do you go?
Basically I kind of go where I need to. Busier season, then I typically try to stay pretty local. I kind of try to hit the Tri-City area here, so Loveland, Fort Collins, Greeley. But then I do kind of do a little bit of a further radius. So I'll go, up to Wellington. I'll go down, try to stay north of Longmont.
Okay.
Kind of don't really like to go too much further than that. And then just these smaller surrounding towns like Eaton, Windsor, all these little ones. So, but yeah, kind of cover a pretty good distance. Try not to, I really don't go up to Red Feather anymore. I did that a few times and it's just real, not cost effective and time effective as busy as I am now. So
yeah, that's a little bit of a drive for you for sure.
Yeah.
Well, very, very good. And if you buy up that in that area, well, on any home, get a radon test, but up there, I think one of them you did for me came in at like 14 point something in the Red Feather area.
Yeah, that's what get up closer to the foothills. It does get a little higher. So
yeah, what's the highest you've seen on a radon inspection?
So I had one that was just a real outlier, and it was 200, and so. And I actually did 2 tests on that, and they both came back within 0.5 or so. So that was
200.
Yeah, that was actually, it was being used. It was a show home for a builder, and so luckily nobody had ever lived in there.
Yeah.
But then selling it, and it was. I think they got it taken care of and everything, but that was kind of a neat one.
Wow, that's crazy. I think the highest I've seen, I had a house in Loveland that we got a test. It was just a few months ago, and it was I want to say it was 38 point something, but that's the highest I saw. And we got the radon mitigation system in there to testing like a day or two later after it had been running, and came in like at 1.8 or something. So, I mean, it dropped right away.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Hey, thank you so much for your time today. Of course, if anyone has questions, we'll once we get a inspection going, we'll send them over your way. And thanks for being a good resource for us here.
You bet, Charles. Good working with you. Always appreciate your clients, and it's fun working with you. You're always a really good and easy guy to work with. So
sounds good. Well, very, very good. We'll be talking to you here soon.
Sounds good, man. Thanks again.
Bye.